It was the fact that you guys helped find me a job at the end of the certification. That was a big plus. Looking at all the other RTOs out there, they basically give you certifications. They say, yep, we'll teach you everything, but they don't give you that helping hand to find you a job at the end.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cyber Revolution podcast. Thanks for joining us yet again. I'm Adam Hewitt, the CEO of Cyber Revolution, and today I'm joined by a current student of ours, Tim. Tim, how are you?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Very well, very well. Thanks for joining us. For everyone listening in, Tim, as I said, is a current student of ours. He's absolutely smashing his studies with us, but the main reason we have him on is to celebrate, and that is to celebrate Tim landing a new role, a complete career change, which is what we're going to get into in today's episode. He's actually landed a role with our newest placement partner company, a company called Insicon, and he is the inaugural student we've placed into that organization, which is pretty cool. A little bit more information maybe on Insicon. They are a smaller placement partner of ours, growing really rapidly, and so we have organizations from small companies that have 8 to 10 staff in them, like Insicon, that are growing really quickly and plan to get to sort of 30 to 50 staff in the next 24 months. And then we've got larger organizations that we also partner with that have hundreds, if not thousands of students. So Tim is in one of the smaller organizations, which I kind of like. It gives you the opportunity to learn a lot, right? You're not just going to be doing sort of the same thing in a big organization. You're going to be exposed to a bunch of things and learn from Matt and Greg, who are the owners of Insicon, and really 20 to 30, 60 years experience between them. I don't want to make them sound too old. And you're going to be able to pick their brain, which is a really good way to start your career. So that's exciting, mate.
Can't wait.
Yes. Before we get into all of that, I want to give our new listeners of the podcast a bit of an overview of who Cyber Revolution are, more importantly, who this podcast is for. So Cyber Revolution are Australia's only dedicated cybersecurity training and placement company. We specialize in finding people their first job in cybersecurity, just like we have with Tim. Over the years, we've been doing this. We've helped thousands of people, but still each and every week, each and every day in the comments of the podcast, a lot of the feedback we get is it's very educational. There is a bit of a misconception around cybersecurity still, not so much as there used to be about 12 months ago, thanks to the major attacks that occurred about 12 or 14 months ago. I think everyone is a little bit more educated about this industry, but still we get bombarded with questions about what skills do you need to learn? How do I get into cybersecurity? What is an entry-level role look like? What's the career progression look like? So rather than me just saying it, we want to get our students who now work in the industry or are just about to work in the industry come on and tell their story. And we want to break down those barriers and educate people. More importantly, teach them how to get their first job in cybersecurity. Okay, so if that resonates, that sounds interesting, then this is the podcast for you. All right, Tim, let's get into it. I'm going to start with where I do with every guest I have on the show, and that's from the very beginning of their journey. What were you doing before work when you decided, I'm going to give this up and go after this thing called cybersecurity?
I'm far left. So I was a boilermaker, welder, have been for 14 years, started straight out of school. Initially loved my job, used to wake up early, excited to go to work. And then COVID hit. Our sort of work line slowed down a bit and sort of forced me to look elsewhere. And then, it led me to you guys.
Okay, and you say it's far left. I've heard it all. We've had road workers, boat builders, boilermakers on the transition. It's, from any industry. I'd like to know exactly how many industries we've helped, but it would be in the dozens, if not the hundreds. So I've heard it all. So you mentioned you love the work that you're doing and you've had one career, one skill set. COVID hit. It was more so around the uncertainty of your career ahead, like your future. Yourself, is that what
our mainstream type of work sort of really slowed down because we did a lot of construction stuff, so houses and factories and all of that type of stuff, and that sort of really slowed down because no one could go to work. So our mainstream type of work became maintenance, and I didn't like maintenance, so I just wanted to change it up a bit. I've been in the industry for 14 years. It was time for a change.
Yep. Were you kind of hitting a bit of a ceiling after 14 years?
So I started to look and it was like, where am I going? I'm not going to really go anywhere else from here. Looking around, you see all the older blokes start to feel sore, and I didn't want to picture myself like that down the track. So I wanted something that I know I would enjoy naturally and started looking into something IT based and found you guys. And
Yeah, brilliant, mate. And so how long did it take for you to take action once you realized this is not, I don't want to go into maintenance, I need to change it up? Did you sit on the...
I do a lot of research. I don't jump at anything, quickly. I sat on you guys for a while. I did a research through, universities and stuff like that. And then it was just one day I was like, no, I've got to do this. I've got to actually jump at it. And yeah, my partner was very supportive on it. I jumped at you guys.
Amazing. There's a few key takeaways there. A, is you did your research. It's important. We mentioned with everything. We try to educate. We run information sessions, multiple conversations with students before they decide to jump into anything, because we want to make sure that we're getting the right students in to then hand over to placement partners. If we're not getting the quality of student and we're handing not the right people to our placement partners and they leave after 3 or 4 months, then that looks really bad on us. So that's what you need to do. The other thing is you need to have your partner involved in those kind of conversations from the start. All of our career consultants, although it might be hard to nail down 2 people's schedules, we want you to have the conversation, almost, have the initial conversation with you, your partner, and our career consultant, because everyone's got to be on board, right?
100%.
And it's great to hear your partner was around that. All right, so 14 years, mate. That's a really good stint in one industry. And now that you're entering a new industry, is that a little bit daunting, or are you more just pumped?
I'm very pumped. I've always loved IT. From when I was a kid, I used to play computer games. I built my own computer. Yeah, I've always had a passion for computers, and then furthermore IT. Love learning about the stuff. You have a look at my YouTube history. It's all computer based.
You're gonna love it, mate. I think you're a really, really good fit for the industry and a really good fit for Insicon. You're just gonna get in there and just completely consume all of the information that they're going to throw you away. It's going to be an interesting sort of 4 to 6 months. I'm not going to lie to you, you're going to learn a lot, but it's an amazing company. So really, really well done. With cybersecurity, you mentioned before you've always been interested in IT. That's probably going to answer this question. But were there anything else? Like, why cybersecurity? I know you'd been in your role as a boilermaker for 14 years, and it took you 14 years to get to a certain salary. You pretty much getting right now the exact same salary. You don't need to go into the details, but in your first year in cybersecurity, does that excite you? The opportunity to go from an entry-level role, it's taken you 14 years to get to a certain point, and now you're in your first year in cybersecurity, you're earning that money with potential to earn a lot more. Is that a motivator?
100%.
Like, why is the money important to you? For family or?
Yeah, well, I'm about to start a family. So that's a big part of it.
And then obviously cost of living, everything's going up, right? You've got a lot more expenses. And money's important, and people do get a little bit awkward when we talk about money, talk about salaries, but it is more and more so, especially today. It's an important thing. You need to talk about it. You need to talk about it in your interviews with the person employing you, because you hold the power in interviews. You have a skill set that these companies want, and big organizations, large organizations, you look at Optus and Medibank and Woolworths, Dymix, whoever it is, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, that those companies have, they want your skill set. So you can demand a higher salary. We train our students, you need to be comfortable to talk about money, because you're going to get paid a lot of money and you deserve to. So money's one thing. Interested in it. Anything else that kind of drew you towards cybersecurity?
Well, I was part of the Optus hack. I wasn't a Optus customer. I just previously, I think it was like 2017 was when I was last an Optus customer. But I still got that email saying that I was part of the hack, and they had some sort of details of me. So that was a motivator that sort of pushed me. Okay, well, cybersecurity is a big issue. And then hearing about it on the news regularly piqued my interest. I started doing a bit more searching on Google. It was just an easy choice after that.
Yeah, and you've obviously managed to land your first role now in the space. You're still starting with us. You're going to continue doing some studies, and then you start your new role. Tell us a bit more about that.
I am very, very excited. I've worked very hard for the last 11 months with you guys, working full time still, and coming home late of an afternoon and still doing 3 to 4 hours of study to pump out my certifications. I'm stoked. I can't wait. Honestly, it's one of those things where you've worked so hard for so long, and all the hard work has paid off.
Yeah, how good's that feeling?
It's great. I can't express it enough.
So you've managed to land your first entry level role with Insicon. Tell us a bit more about that.
It's an associate role. Being a small company, it gives me the opportunity to learn everything. Basically, bits of this, bits of that, So I feel like that's going to be a bit more beneficial for me being in the smaller company.
I'm assuming Matt and Greg, the founders of Insicon, they told you that it is a small company and you are going to be thrown in the deep end. We're going to support you. I'm assuming they said, we're going to give you all the support, but it's going to be, it's going to be a lot of information. Can you tell us a little bit more about how transparent they were in the interview process? Like, A, are you sure that you want to do this? B, it's going to be a lot of work, etc. Did they go through that with you?
So they were very, very upfront on how hard this was going to be. They were very strict, basically asking me, is this what I really want? Their worries were, because I'm coming from such a far left field, they didn't want to, invest 6 months of their time and money and everything else for me just to go, okay, this is way too hard. I'm going to go back to welding, or I'm going to go back to doing something easier. So I had to sort of explain to them that this is what I want. I've put so much time, effort, everything else into this, I'm 100% sold on this.
And I think after I spoke to them after your interview, and they were like, they had not a shadow of a doubt that you're going to make it through and you are the right fit. They were absolutely buzzing after having the interview with you. And that's how so my main role now at Cyber Revolution is I'm going out finding more and more placement partners, having these conversations. And sometimes that is a hesitation for the owners of companies, especially some smaller ones, because they don't have the hundreds of millions of dollars that these big companies do. And they need to make sure that if they're going to invest 6 months or 12 months of time and money into somebody, that they're going to retain them and they're going to hang around. And my rebuttal to that is, Tim has just been a boilermaker working 8 to 10 hour days. And he has gone back then after every day and studied and gotten through this. And it might be somebody else as a student who's a single mum, staying at home looking after 3 or 4 kids and studying and doing certifications. That person definitely wants this, right? If they're going to be putting that kind of work, consistent work, day in, day out for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 11 months, whatever it is, I can tell you that this person is really going to give it a crack and appreciates the opportunity that they're giving them. I'm sure that's how you fit with Insicon, right?
Yeah. 100%.
You're going to pay it back tenfold, mate. So I'm really pumped for you. Okay, so you did your research. Let's backtrack a little bit as to why you decided to join Cyber Revolution. Tell us a little bit about that story, why you chose us over any of the other training programs.
Well, it was the fact that you guys helped find me a job at the end of the certifications. That was a big plus. Looking at all the other RTOs out there, they basically give you certifications. They say, yep, we'll teach you everything, but they don't give you that helping hand to find you a job at the end. And that's what really got me over the line.
And tell us about everyone who's listening about how our placement program works. You do your studies, and that's typically when training companies, I don't want to say leave, but it's what happens, right? You get your certificates and they go, well done to the student, off to the real world, and you've got to go find yourself a job. Explain in your experience what happens in Cyber Revolution post getting your certificates.
Yeah, so I've still got 2 certificates left. There was one day I got a phone call. I can't remember his name. Hugo. He gave me a phone call and he basically goes, "We've got an opportunity for you. Send through your resume and we'll forward it on." And everything went from there.
Yep. He helped build and craft your resume.
Yeah. Yep. I think I spoke to Reese previously about my resume and he helped me build that up. So it was pretty much ready. I just had to add the recent certifications to my resume, and Hugo goes, "It's perfect. I'll forward it on." And after that, it was very quick and easy.
And that's the difference, right? I mean, I don't want to bang on about this too much, but you've put in, as you said, a lot of the hard work here, and you put in time and money. And not that we can guarantee anyone a job. I think that's impossible. But all we want to do for our students is give them the opportunities that they deserve. And that's why we're kind of a 50-50 split. Training and support is very important, but we also want to give people like yourself and all of our other students who work really hard these opportunities. And then it's up to you to convert them, right? You've got to then go and impress in the interview. Was it daunting going into you've been a Boilermaker for 14 years and now you're about to have a cybersecurity interview?
I was absolutely packing it, I'll be honest. I've only ever had 2 real jobs. So my first job was Woolworths. My mum at the time knew the boss, and it was just basically I walked in, got the job. And then with my Boilermaking job, I did a TAFE course. TAFE teacher actually was my current boss's TAFE teacher, and same thing, walked in, got the job. So I've never had that full interview process experience. So going through this, I was very nervous. I think they realized that through the online Zoom call that we did, and then they asked me into a face-to-face, and I apparently crushed that. So
yeah, I think face-to-face as well, you can kind of relax a little bit more, but it's normal thing.
you get a read on the person.
Yeah, exactly. It shows that you care.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not nervous at all, it just doesn't show that you really, really care. And so can you give us a bit of insight into that interview process? We forwarded you through your resume. You got screened with a couple of other students and then into a Zoom call.
Yeah, so I had first Zoom call was with HR manager, just a few quick questions, took no more than 15 minutes, I think. Then after that, it was a Zoom call, a more formal Zoom call with both Greg and Matt. And then they sort of asked a few personal questions, a little bit about what I'm learning to see if I actually knew what I'm doing.
What did you say there?
Oh, well, they sort of asked what's the difference between TCP and UDP, and in this certain scenario, what would be the vulnerability, or what would you do in that sort of scenario? I gave them my preference, and yeah, went from there.
And you learnt that. Obviously, you didn't know that when you're a Boilermaker, so you've learnt that skill set through.
Yeah, I would have no idea what a TCP and UDP was.
Okay, great. So you've answered those. You'll be able to get through those basic technicals, which is all. I'm listening in. That's all. These business owners want to know that you know the basics really well. Right? You don't need to do coding. It's not a hectic programming interview or development interview or anything like that. It is more so, do you know the basics well? Have you invested in yourself, and are you studying? And they kind of test you on that, really. And then from there, what happened to the next stage?
After that, it was a formal face-to-face. I went into their office, met the two of them, and then we basically did what I did on the Zoom call, but face-to-face, and then they asked a few more questions. They were very upfront, going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, sort of wanted me to make sure that it was what I want, because it's not going to be an easy 6 to 12 months. I'll be learning a lot, I'll be doing a lot. It's going to be a lot of information to take in. So I had to make sure it was something I really wanted.
Yeah, no doubt it is as well. We're going to have to get you back onto the podcast in 12 months' time, and you can tell everyone how much you've learned and how much you've grown. It's going to be a lot. Tracking back on that, learning a new skill, as you said, you came into this with IT certifications, zero IT skills. You obviously had an interest in it, but how'd you find learning those new skills? Like, what was your favorite part of learning these skills? Was it the support you had with Zara, was it? Your students?
Yeah, I had Zara, yeah.
She's amazing. Shout out to Zara. And then you've got the practice labs, and then the practice exams, and the modules as well. What was your favorite part?
I like the fact that I could download the app onto my phone and listen to them while doing something, like whether it's working or mowing the lawns or something like that, going for a walk even. When I had the time, I could sit at the computer and watch the lecture, and it felt like I already knew what he was talking about. Then actually going into the labs later on and playing around in the labs was excellent. Like it's like practical learning effectively, and Zara's been great. She'd check up on me every 2 to 4 weeks, saying, how you going? Have you met these goals yet? Sort of thing. Everything's been great.
I think and thanks, mate. I appreciate that, because I think that's the important part you mentioned before, the practice labs. You could learn something in theory, sit there, watch the online lecture and go, awesome, that was great. Go off about the rest of your day and then potentially not retain that information. So what we want to get the students to do is learn something in theory, jump on a practice lab and actually do it, because by doing it, you retain 70% more of that information. And once you've done it and you go, okay, yep, here's the difference between those two ports. And when you're asked that question in an interview, you're going to most likely remember it because you've actually done it before. So that's a really, really, really important tip. On that, we've already given away plenty of tips in this chat, mate. But what would be your top 3 for somebody who's listening in and not so much going through the studies, but maybe someone who thinks that they're, again, really far left, completely out of the realm of transitioning into a cybersecurity professional, but doesn't enjoy what they're doing now? Like, what would you tell somebody? What advice would you give to that person?
If you're like me and was on the fence for quite a long time, I'd just say do it, honestly. It's been the best thing for me personally. Do your research. This isn't for everyone. Like, you've got to understand that it's not an easy career change. It's also not an easy job. Some people, I'm not very good at public speaking, so that's something that I'm going to have to learn. But I'm willing to learn because I'm passionate about this career change. So do your research. Make sure it is something that you want and something that you're willing to put time and effort in. Thirdly, don't be afraid to start from the bottom. Where I am at the top of my career. I'm the manager. I look after other tradesmen. I've had apprentices. I'm now going into a career that I will be starting at the bottom. So don't be afraid to start from the bottom. It's going to be scary, but you don't become an expert without learning everything.
No, you leave your ego at the door.
Exactly right.
Amazing, mate. I think the thing that jumps out at me, I ask this question, as you probably know, to all of our guests that come on, give some wisdom to the listeners. I would say 9 times out of 10, they always say, just do it. I took too long to make the decision to get into it, because once you realize this is something I want to do, usually you're about 95% of the way there and you're never going to get to 100%. And people wait 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be, or they've just got something hits, whether they get hacked themselves or whether, I had a guest on just last week, and he had got to a point where he completely burnt out at work and had got to a point where it got quite serious and had to make a change. And so I think what I would say is I would do tip 2 first, which would be do your research like you did. Do your thorough research. Have conversations with our team. Have conversations with people that you know who might be in the industry. Once you've done that and you think it might be a good option for you, then you can revert to tip 1, which is just jump into it, because, what's the worst that can happen, right? And look at yourself now. You're living proof of it.
It's been the best thing I've done, honestly.
I'll keep in touch with you, but I want you to come back on in the next 6 or 12 months and you'll probably be like, wow, that was really hard, but it's the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah, 100%.
And we'll catch up. You're just in Sydney too. The Intercon offices are just across the bridge from us as well, so we can catch up and have a celebratory beer or a coffee in the city maybe. Thanks so much, Tim, for taking the time out of your day to come on and share your story. Guys, if you did get a lot of value out of it, please like, subscribe, share the podcast with friends and family. If you want to know a bit more about the job placement program that we run, you just need to head to cyberrevolution.com.au, leave your details there, and someone from the team will be in touch. Thanks for listening, guys.